Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. Part 1 is in April 7th, 1928, and this section is narrated by Benjamin Benji Compson, who is considered as a source of shame to the family, mainly to his mother, due to his diminished cognitive capacity. The only characters who show genuine care for him are his older sister Caddy and Dilsey, one of the family servants. We see Benji's three passions: fire, his sister Candy, and the golf course on land that used to belong to the Compson family. But by 1928, Caddy has been banished from the Compson home after her husband divorced her because her child was not his, and the family has had to sell pasture land to a local golf club to finance Queston's Harvard University education. In the opening scene, Benji, accompanied by Luster, who is a servant boy, watches golfers on the nearby golf course as he waits to hear them call Caddy, the name of his favorite sibling. When one of them calls for his golf caddy, Benji's mind embarks on the memories of his sister Caddy, focusing on one critical scene. In 1898, when their grandmother died, the four Compson children were forced to play outside during the funeral. To see what was going on inside, Caddy climbed a tree in the yard, and while she looked inside, her brothers, Quentin, Jason, and Benji looked up and noticed that her underwear was muddy. This is Benji's first memory, and he associates Caddy with trees, often saying that she smells like trees. Other crucial memories in this section are Benji's change of name, which was originally Maury, after his wastrel maternal uncle upon the discovery of his disability in 1900, the marriage and divorce of Caddy in 1910, and Benji's castration resulting from an attack on a girl wherein a gate is left unlatched and Benji is out unsupervised. Part 2 in June 2nd, 1910. Quentin, the most intelligent of the Compson children, is a freshman at Harvard University, wandering the streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, contemplating death and remembering his family's estrangement from his sister Caddy. Quentin makes preparations for his suicide by drowning, including leaving letters for classmates. Quentin's main obsession is Caddy's virginity and purity. He is obsessed with Southern ideals of chivalry and is strongly protective of women, especially his sister. He is horrified when she engages in sexual promiscuity. He turns to his father for help and counsel, but the pragmatic Mr. Compson tells him that virginity is invented by men and should not be taken seriously. He also tells Quentin that time will heal all. Quentin spends much of his time trying to prove his father wrong, but is unable to do so. Shortly before Quentin leaves for Harvard in the fall of 1909, Caddy becomes pregnant by a lover she is unable to identify, perhaps Dalton Amis, whom Quentin confronts. The two fight, with Quentin losing disgracefully and Caddy vowing for Quentin's sake to never speak to Dalton again. Quentin tells his father that they have committed incest, but his father knows that he is lying. Quentin's idea is to protect his sister by joining her in whatever punishment she might endure. In his mind, he feels a need to take responsibility for Caddy's sin. Pregnant and alone, Caddy marries Herbert Head. Quentin finds him repulsive, but Caddy is resolute. She must marry before she gives birth. Herbert finds out that the child is not his and sends Caddy and her new daughter away in shame. He also resents his offer of a bank job to Caddy's brother Jason, who holds Caddy responsible for this misfortune and never forgives her. Quentin's wandering through Harvard as he cuts classes follow the pattern of his heartbreak over losing Caddy. He meets a small Italian immigrant girl who speaks no English. He calls her sister and spends much of the day trying to communicate with her and to care for her by finding her home to no avail. He thinks sadly of the downfall and squalor of the South after the American Civil War. Tormented by his conflicting thoughts and emotions, Quentin commits suicide by drowning. Part 3 in April 6, 1928. The third section is narrated by Jason, the third child and his mother Caroline's favorite. He is the only child who does not want, need, or return her love. It takes place the day before Benji's section on Good Friday. Jason has a single minded desire to make money. He worries obsessively about his bad investments in the cotton market, which symbolize the financial decline of the South. By 1928, Jason's father has died and Jason has become the family breadwinner. He supports his mother, Benji, and Miss Kristen, daughter of Caddy, the family's second born, as well as the family's servants. The unjust burden makes him bitter and cynical, with little of the passionate sensitivity of his irresponsible older brother and sister. He goes so far as to blackmail Katie into making him Miss Quinton's sole guardian, then uses that role to steal the support payments that Caddy sends for her daughter, amounting to tens of thousands of dollars over 17 years, stashing thousands in cash in a strong box. Jason uses the money to maintain a mistress in Memphis and play the stock market. Miss Quinton and her lover later recoup some of the money by climbing through a window and prolonging the strong box. Good Friday, a day on which Jason decides to leave work to search for Miss Quinton, who has run away. Jason and the servants care for hypochondriac Caroline and disabled Benji. Part 4 in April 8, 1928. April 8, 1928 is Easter Sunday. Dulce, the powerful matriarch of the black family servants, is in contrast to the declining compasses. She draws strength from her faith, standing proud amid a dying family. On this Easter Sunday, Dulce takes her family and Benji to the colored church. Dulce is mistreated and abused but remains loyal. She and her grandson Luster tend to Benji as she takes him to church and tries to bring him to salvation. The preacher's sermon makes her weep for the Compson family, whose destruction she is now witnessing. Meanwhile, the tension between Jason and Miss Quinton reaches its inevitable conclusion. The family discovers that Miss Quinton has run away in the night with a carnival worker, having taken the strong box in which Jason had hidden all his savings, both earned and stolen. Jason complains to the sheriff, who is sympathetic to Miss Quinton and refuses to help her. Since much of the money had been embezzled from Miss Quinton, Jason doesn't press the issue. He sets off to find her on his own but loses her trail in nearby Matson and gives up. After church, Dulce allows her grandson Luster to drive Benji in the family's depressed horse and carriage to the graveyard. Luster, disregarding Benji's set routine, drives the wrong way around a monument, provoking Benji into hysterical sobbing. Jason suddenly appears, slaps Luster, turns the carriage around, and in an attempt to quiet the sobbing, hits Benji and breaks his flask top. After Jason gets off and Luster heads home, Benji falls silent. Luster turns around to look at Benji and sees him holding his drooping flower. In 1945, Faulkner wrote an appendix to the novel which reveals that Caroline Bascom Compson died in 1933, at which time Jason had Benji committed to the state asylum in Jackson, fired the black servants, sold the last of the Compson land and moved into an apartment above his farming supply store. It is also revealed that Jason had himself declared Benji's legal guardian many years ago without their mother's knowledge and used this status to have Benji castrated. The appendix also reveals the fate of Caddy, last seen in the novel when her daughter Quinton is still a baby. After marrying and divorcing a second time, Caddy moved to Paris, where she lived at the time of the German occupation. In 1943, the librarian of Yoknapatawpha County discovered a magazine photograph of Caddy in the company of a German staff general and attempted separately to recruit Jason and Dulce to save her. Jason, at first acknowledging that the photo was his sister, denied it after realizing that the librarian wanted his help, while Dulce pretended to be unable to see the picture at all. The librarian later realized that while Jason remains cold and unsympathetic towards Caddy, Dulce simply understands that Caddy neither wants nor needs to be saved from the Germans because nothing else remains for her. The appendix concludes with an accounting for the black family who worked as servants to the com censor. Dilsey's entry, the final in the appendix, consists of two words. They endured, and here ends the story. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.